Not enemies, not yet. The lead figure landed on the platform, 20 meters away, a Kel Dor whose face was obscured by an anti-ox breath mask. His companion, a human woman with dark skin and traditional Jedi robes, kept her hand near her lightsaber but didn't draw it. The other four spread out in a loose perimeter, professional but non-threatening. "I am Plo Koon, Jedi Master of the Galactic Republic," the Kel Dor said, his voice resonating through his mask's vocoder. "Your arrival has caused considerable disturbance. We mean you no harm, but we must ask you to come with us to the Jedi Temple to answer some questions." Jin-Woo studied them, his system finally providing some useful information as it began parsing local data from nearby communication networks. Analyses: local language, galactic basic, acquired. Jedi Order, galactic peacekeepers, force, omnipresent energy field. Current location, Coruscant, galactic capital. So this galaxy had its own version of hunters and power structures. The energy he felt, this force, seemed to be their equivalent of mana, though far more pervasive. These Jedi were apparently this world's S-rank equivalents, peacekeepers who served a galactic government. Jin-Woo had learned long ago that cooperation yielded better results than conflict when entering unknown territory. "I'm not here to cause trouble," Jin-Woo replied, noting with satisfaction that his words translated automatically. The system was adapting faster than expected. Plo Koon's posture relaxed slightly. "Then we share a common goal. The temple has resources that may help you. But first, we must understand the nature of your power. What you brought with you, it is unlike anything we have encountered." Jin-Woo almost smiled at that. These Jedi could sense his shadow army, currently held in reserve within his shadow dimension. 847 soldiers, ranging from elite warrior ants to dragon-class shadows, all waiting for his command. To Force sensitives, they must feel like a massive void, living things that weren't alive, power that didn't draw from their precious Force. "I can explain," Jin-Woo said, "though it might be easier to show you. Though I should warn you, what I do tends to make people uncomfortable." The Jedi exchanged glances. The human woman spoke for the first time, her voice carrying authority. "We faced Sith alchemy and dark side rituals. Whatever you wish to demonstrate, we can handle it." Jin-Woo wondered if that was true. The Sith, his system had flagged them as dark side Force users, this galaxy's version of villains who embraced emotion and power. He'd dealt with worse. Monarchs who commanded death itself, beings that devoured dimensions. If these Jedi thought his shadows were similar to Sith magic, they were in for a revelation. "All right," he said, raising one hand. "Just remember, you asked." His shadow rippled beneath him, spreading across the landing pad like spilled ink. The Jedi immediately tensed, hands moving to their lightsabers as they felt the wrongness intensify. Then, rising from the darkness, came his soldiers. Egris emerged first, the blood-red commander, his crimson armor gleaming even in shadow form, twin swords held in perfect ready stance. Then Beru, the Ant Queen, her massive form towering over the assembled Jedi. Tank, Iron, and a dozen other named shadows followed, each one a warrior of legendary caliber from Jin-Woo's previous battles. They didn't breathe. They didn't emit body heat. They registered as voids in the Force, walking contradictions that shouldn't exist. One of the younger Jedi actually stumbled backward, his face pale. "Master Plo, they're not alive. They're not anything. It's like staring into empty space shaped like beings." Plo Koon, to his credit, maintained his composure. "Necromancy. You command the dead. I command shadows. These were once my enemies. Now they serve willingly. This is my power, the authority of the Shadow Monarch. Where I come from, it's what saved my world from extinction." The Jedi Master was silent for a long moment, clearly communicating with his companions through that omnipresent force. Jin-Woo felt the energy swirling around them, probing at his shadows and finding nothing to grasp. His power existed outside their framework entirely, and he could sense their growing unease. The Council must see this, and they must decide whether you are visitor or threat. Jin-Woo dismissed his shadows with a thought, the soldiers dissolving back into darkness. "Then take me to your council. I've dealt with politicians and power structures before. I know how this works." What he didn't say was that every time someone tried to control him, tried to make him choose a side or serve an agenda, it ended poorly for them. Jin-Woo had transcended beyond such things when he became the Shadow Monarch. These Jedi, their Republic, even their mysterious force, none of it would chain him. As they escorted him toward a waiting transport, Jin-Woo caught sight of the Jedi Temple in the distance, a massive ziggurat that dominated the skyline, its spires reaching toward the stars. Somewhere in that structure, he knew powerful beings were already debating his fate. Let them debate. He'd survived the Monarch's War, defeated the Absolute Being's fragments, and saved an entire dimension from annihilation. Whatever this galaxy threw at him, he would face it the same way he'd faced everything else. With absolute confidence in his power and zero tolerance for those who would try to use him. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The transport lifted off, carrying the Shadow Monarch toward the heart of Jedi power. While across the city, Darth Sidious felt the first stirrings of genuine concern in decades. Something had entered his carefully constructed game board, something that didn't follow the rules. The Jedi Temple's council chamber occupied the highest spire of the ancient structure. A circular room ringed with seats where the wisest masters of the Order convened to guide the Republic through its darkest hours. Morning light filtered through tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor where Sung Jin-Woo stood, flanked by Plo Koon and 3 other Jedi Knights who hadn't left his side since the transport touched down. 12 masters sat in judgment, their faces ranging from curious to deeply troubled. Jin-Woo recognized the political theater immediately. He'd stood before the Korean Hunters Association often enough to know when powerful people were trying to intimidate through ceremony. It never worked on him then. It wouldn't work now. Master Yoda sat with his eyes closed, his ancient features creased in concentration as he extended his awareness through the Force. Mace Windu leaned forward in his seat, his dark eyes fixed on Jin-Woo with an intensity that would have made lesser men flinch. Ki-Adi-Mundi's elongated cranium tilted thoughtfully. Shakti observed with Togruta serenity. Each master represented centuries of collective wisdom, power that had shaped galactic history. Jin-Woo met their gazes without hesitation. He'd stared down the Dragon Monarch and Terrace. These peacekeepers, however formidable, didn't compare. Sung Jin-Woo, Mace Windu began, his voice carrying the weight of authority. "You arrive on Coruscant through means we cannot explain, wielding power that exists outside the Force itself. The very fabric of reality tore to deposit you in our galaxy. You command an army of the dead, 800 beings that register as voids in the living Force. Before we proceed, you will explain what you are and why you're here." Direct and confrontational, Jin-Woo could respect that approach, even if it was meant to put him on the defensive. "I already told Master Plo Koon, I'm not from this galaxy. I'm from a dimension where portals called gates connect worlds and creatures called monsters pour through to invade. I became a hunter, someone who fights these threats. My power evolved until I inherited the authority of the Shadow Monarch, one of the absolute rulers of my reality." "Shadow Monarch," Ki-Adi-Mundi repeated, his tone skeptical, a title that suggests dominion over death itself. "In our galaxy, such power is the domain of the dark side, the corrupting influence of the Force that leads only to suffering and destruction." Jin-Woo's system flickered with new information, cross-referencing their statements with data it had pulled from the Temple's network.
"Force, philosophy, analyzed. Jedi, light side, peace, selflessness, emotional control. Sith, dark side, passion, power, freedom through strength. Necromancy, classified as dark side ability." So they'd already categorized him as a threat based on surface similarities. Typical. People always feared what they didn't understand, and these Jedi seemed particularly rigid in their worldview. Light and dark, good and evil, living and dead, everything in neat binary categories. "Your dark side has nothing to do with my power," Jin-Woo said, his tone hardening slightly. "I don't draw energy from anger or hatred. My shadows aren't slaves tortured into service. They're warriors who chose to follow me, even in death. What you call necromancy, I call giving purpose to those who fell in battle." "A fine distinction," Mace Windu countered, "but one we've heard before. Every practitioner of Sith alchemy claims noble intentions. Every Darksider believes their path is justified, yet the result is always the same: corruption, suffering, and death." Jin-Woo felt a flicker of irritation. He'd saved his entire world from extermination, fought alone against threats that would have annihilated humanity, and sacrificed everything to become the Shadow Monarch. Now these strangers who knew nothing of his struggles dared to judge him based on their limited understanding of power. "Feel the Force around him," Yoda suddenly spoke, his eyes opening to reveal a penetrating gaze that seemed to see straight through Jin-Woo. "Neither light nor dark it is. Outside the Force entirely, his power exists. A wound, some might call it, but a wound that bleeds not darkness, simply absence." That caught the Council's attention. Yoda's words carried weight that even Mace Windu couldn't dismiss. The ancient master rose from his seat with surprising grace despite his walking stick, approaching Jin-Woo with slow, deliberate steps. "Show us," Yoda commanded simply. "One shadow, call forth. Let the Council see what 900 years of studying the Force tells me cannot exist." Jin-Woo considered refusing, but recognized the genuine curiosity in Yoda's request rather than suspicion. This master at least seemed willing to observe before judging. He raised his hand and his shadow rippled. Igris rose from the darkness, not his full towering form, but enough to manifest before the Council. The blood-red commander materialized in his crimson armor, shadowy wisps trailing from his form as he knelt before Jin-Woo in perfect knight's obeisance. The temperature in the chamber dropped several degrees. Frost crept across the polished floor in delicate patterns.
Every Jedi in the room reacted. Lightsabers didn't ignite, but hands moved to hilts. The Force swirled through the chamber as the Masters extended their senses, trying to comprehend what stood before them. Jin-Woo watched their faces shift from suspicion to confusion to something approaching awe. "Impossible," Shakti whispered. "There's nothing there. No Force signature, no life energy, no connection to the cosmic force. Yet it exists. It moves with purpose and intelligence."
"Sith alchemy creates abominations that corrupt the Force," Plo Koon added, his voice thoughtful. "But this doesn't corrupt anything. It simply isn't. As if a piece of reality has been cut away and shaped into form." Yoda circled Ygriss slowly, his walking stick tapping against the floor. The Shadow Knight remained perfectly still, awaiting Jin-Woo's command. The ancient Jedi reached out with one clawed hand, not quite touching, but sensing the space where Ygriss existed. "Fascinating this is," Yoda murmured. "A warrior once living, now given form beyond death. Not enslaved through torture, as the Sith would do. Not animated through dark rituals that corrupt the soul. Simply continues. Purpose retained. Service given willingly." He turned to face Jin-Woo directly. "Ask him, I would. Does he suffer? Does this existence cause him pain?" Jin-Woo hadn't expected that question. These Jedi, for all their rigid philosophy, showed genuine concern for his Shadow's well-being. He reached through his connection to Ygriss, feeling the Knight's unwavering loyalty and satisfaction in service. "He doesn't suffer," Jin-Woo replied honestly. "When I defeat an enemy, I can offer them a choice through my system. Rise as my shadow and continue fighting for a worthy cause, or fade into true death. Ygriss chose to serve. He was a blood-red commander in life, a warrior of legendary skill. Now he continues that purpose without the limitations of a mortal body." "This system you mention," Ki Arimundi interjected, "it grants you these abilities, some form of ancient technology or Force artifact." Jin-Woo's interface flickered at the question, as if responding to being discussed. The system had been glitching since his arrival, but it was adapting with each passing hour. Already the error messages had decreased, and new functions were coming online. "It's complicated," Jin-Woo admitted. "In my world, I was the weakest hunter until the system chose me. It gave me the ability to level up like a game character, grow stronger through combat, learn skills, increase my stats. Eventually, I evolved beyond it and inherited the Shadow Monarch's authority directly. The system is both a tool and part of my power now." "A game," Mace Windu repeated flatly. "You're describing reality-altering power as if it were a child's entertainment." "I'm describing it the way I understand it. Your Force isn't any less strange to me. This omnipresent energy that supposedly binds everything together, that lets you move objects with your mind and see the future. From my perspective, that's just as impossible. But I'm not calling you liars or darksiders because your power works differently than mine."
The tension in the room ratcheted up several notches. Several council members bristled at his tone, but Yoda's eyes twinkled with something that might have been amusement. "Humility we could use more of," the ancient master said, returning to his seat. "Quick to judge the Jedi have become. Fear the unknown we do, rather than seek to understand it. Young Skywalker we nearly rejected, because too old he was for traditional training. Learn from that mistake, perhaps we should." "Master Yoda," Mace Windu said carefully. "Surely you're not suggesting we simply accept this Shadow Monarch at face value. His power represents everything we've fought against for millennia. Command over death is the ultimate dark side ambition." "Suggests I do that different this power is," Yoda replied firmly. "Tested by darkness? Yes. Corrupted by it? No. Feel his intentions you can. Harm the Republic he does not wish. Control others he does not seek. Home he simply wants to find." Jin-Woo appreciated the support, even if he didn't need it. He'd survived worse than the Jedi Council's disapproval. But having at least one voice of reason among these masters made things simpler. Still, he could sense the deeper currents of concern flowing through the room. These weren't just peacekeepers. They were warriors engaged in some larger conflict, one that had them constantly vigilant for threats like him appearing from nowhere. His system pinged with new information, finally accessing deeper database files. Galactic conflict detected. Clone Wars. Republic versus Separatist alliance. Jedi serving as military commanders. Sith Lord manipulating both sides. Identity unknown. A war? That explained the tension, the military precision of the Jedi who'd escorted him. The way this council seemed more like a war cabinet than philosophers. And if his system was right about Sith manipulation, these Jedi were fighting an enemy they didn't fully understand, while worrying about threats like him appearing from nowhere. Before Jin-Woo could respond, alarms shrieked throughout the temple. Red emergency lighting bathed the council chamber as a hologram materialized in the center of the room. A clone trooper captain, his armor scorched and his breathing labored. "Council, we're under attack. Separatist infiltrators have breached the lower levels. They're using some kind of cloaking technology we've never encountered. We've got casualties, multiple Padawans down. We need—"
The transmission cut off in a burst of static. The council erupted into coordinated action, masters rising from their seats and moving toward the exits with practiced efficiency. Mace Windu paused only long enough to point at Jin-Woo. "Stay here. Do not leave this chamber until we return. If you're truly not a threat, you'll prove it by staying out of our way." Then they were gone, robes flowing as they rushed toward the lower temple levels where explosions now echoed upward through the massive structure. The Jedi Knights who'd been guarding Jin-Woo hesitated, torn between their orders and their duty to defend the temple. Jin-Woo walked to the window and looked down at the temple grounds far below. Smoke rose from several locations. He could see the flashes of lightsabers engaging unseen enemies, the chaos of battle spreading through the sacred halls. His enhanced senses picked up screams, the sounds of suffering and death. Younglings, children training to become Jedi. They were in those lower levels. His system pulsed with a new notification. Emergency quest detected. Protect the innocent. Reward. Shadow extraction compatibility increased. Jin-Woo smiled grimly. The system was adapting faster than he'd expected, already learning to interface with this galaxy's unique circumstances. But he didn't need a quest reward to make his decision. He'd never been good at standing aside while children died. "I'm going down there," he announced to the remaining Jedi Knights. One of them, a young human male, moved to block his path. "Master Windu ordered—" "I know what he ordered. But I also know that your people are dying, and I can help. You can try to stop me, or you can let me prove that my power isn't what you fear." The Jedi exchanged uncertain glances. Jin-Woo didn't wait for their decision. His shadow exploded outward, and he dropped through it, transporting via shadow movement down through the temple levels in a technique these Jedi Knights had no framework to counter. He emerged in a corridor filled with smoke and blood, where fallen clone troopers lay among scattered debris. Ahead, he could hear the distinctive hum of lightsabers and the sound of blaster fire, young voices crying out in fear and pain. Jin-Woo's eyes darkened to glowing purple as he called forth his army. "Arise!" Shadows poured from every corner, every crack in the walls, every pool of darkness cast by the emergency lighting. His soldiers materialized by the dozens, warriors, mages, assassins, all flooding through the temple corridors with supernatural speed. Igris took point, his twin swords gleaming. Beru's massive form filled the hallway, her razor-sharp limbs ready for slaughter.
Somewhere above, Jin-Woo knew the Jedi Council would sense his shadow army deploying. They would feel hundreds of voids in the Force suddenly manifesting throughout their sacred temple. They would fear what it meant, question his intentions, possibly even see it as the attack they'd been dreading. Let them fear. Let them question. Right now, children were dying, and Sung Jin-Woo had never been the type to ask permission before doing what was right. The Shadow Monarch moved through the temple like death itself, and the Separatist infiltrators were about to learn why even the monarchs of his world had feared his power.
The Separatist infiltrators had chosen their target well. The temple's lower archives, a maze of ancient corridors where younglings trained in lightsaber fundamentals and Jedi historians preserved millennia of knowledge, offered multiple escape routes and innocent hostages. 24 assassin droids equipped with experimental cloaking fields moved through the holes with mechanical precision. Their programming focused on maximum casualties to demoralize the Republic's spiritual center. They hadn't accounted for shadows that didn't need eyes to see. Jin-Woo moved through the smoke-filled corridor with predatory grace, his system overlaying tactical data across his vision. 18 life signs ahead, 15 small, 3 adult-sized. The younglings were trapped in a training chamber, protected by 2 Jedi instructors and a single clone trooper. The third adult signature was fading fast, wounded, possibly dying. His shadow soldiers flowed ahead of him like a dark tide, spreading through the temple's lower levels with supernatural coordination. Tank and Iron charged through a perpendicular hallway where 3 cloaked droids had cornered a group of Padawans. The assassin droids never saw the shadows coming. One moment they were advancing on their targets, the next massive shadow warriors tore through their cloaking fields and ripped the machines apart with bare hands augmented by shadow energy. Targets eliminated, 3. Civilian casualties prevented, 7. Beru's chittering filled Jin-Woo's mind through their connection. She'd found a cluster of 6 droids attempting to plant explosives near the temple's structural supports. Her shadow ants swarmed the machines, overwhelming them through sheer numbers, while her main body carved through durasteel like paper. Sabotage prevented. Structural integrity maintained.
Jin-Woo rounded a corner and found himself face to face with his first direct engagement. Two assassin droids materialized from their cloaking fields, their photoreceptors glowing red as they identified him as a target. Quad-barrel blaster arms rose, charging with enough energy to vaporize a clone trooper in full armor. They fired. Jin-Woo was already moving. His speed, even in this new galaxy with its strange physics, remained far beyond normal human limits. He blurred between the energy bolts, his daggers materializing in his hands as he closed the distance. The first droid attempted to track his movement and failed. Jin-Woo's blade pierced its central processing core before it could recalibrate. The second droid activated a vibroblade from its arm, clearly programmed with advanced melee combat protocols. It didn't matter. Jin-Woo ducked under the slash, drove his second dagger through the droid's torso, and pumped shadow energy directly into its systems. The machine convulsed as darkness flooded its circuits, corrupting every subroutine, every protocol. It collapsed in a heap of sparking metal. Targets eliminated. 2. Analyzing technology. Shadow extraction compatible. Jin-Woo paused. His system had never offered to extract shadows from machines before. In his world, only living things with sufficient will and power could become shadows. But these droids, with their advanced AI and combat programming, apparently contained enough intelligence to qualify in this galaxy's terms. He filed that information away for later consideration and pressed forward. The training chamber doors were ahead, sealed from the inside. Through his enhanced hearing, he caught the sounds of lightsaber combat and the distinctive buzz of blaster fire. The Jedi inside were holding their ground, but barely. Jin-Woo didn't bother with the door. His shadow spread across the wall and he stepped through it, emerging inside the chamber via shadow transport. The scene that greeted him would have horrified most observers. Younglings huddled behind overturned training equipment, their small faces streaked with tears and dirt. A Togruta Jedi instructor named Sora Tan wielded her green lightsaber with desperate efficiency, deflecting bolts from 3 cloaked assassin droids. Her companion, a Zabrak named Kenth Oro, had fallen to one knee, his leg armor melted where a blaster had found its mark.
The clone trooper, identified as CT-7821 by his helmet markings, had positioned himself directly in front of the younglings, his DC-15 rifle empty, his sidearm drawn. One arm hung useless at his side, but he remained standing, a wall of white armor between innocence and death. The Separatist droids adjusted their targeting protocols the instant Jin-Woo appeared. 4 additional units shimmered into visibility, surrounding him in a tactical formation designed to concentrate fire from multiple angles simultaneously. 12 barrels charged with lethal energy, all aimed at the human who just materialized from shadows. Jin-Woo's purple eyes flashed. Igris, Beru, Tank, Iron, Jima, Tusk. His named shadows erupted from the darkness behind him, manifesting with such speed that the droid's targeting systems couldn't track them. Igris moved like crimson lightning, his twin swords creating a whirlwind of shadow-wreathed steel that bisected 3 droids before they could fire. Beru's massive form crashed down from above. She'd been crawling across the ceiling, her razor limbs impaling 2 droids and lifting them like trophies before slamming them into the floor hard enough to crater the stone. Tank lived up to his name, his enormous shadow bear form absorbing a full barrage of blaster fire as he charged the remaining units.
Iron followed in his wake, the Shadow Knight's warhammer pulverizing a droid into scrap with a single overhead strike. Jima and Tusk, elite shadow warriors from Jin-Woo's earlier raids, dismantled the last two assassins with professional brutality. The entire engagement lasted 4 seconds. Sora Tan stood frozen, her lightsaber still raised in defensive position, staring at the carnage of destroyed droids and the impossible soldiers who'd manifested from pure darkness. CT-7821 kept his blaster trained on the shadows despite his injuries, his training overriding his shock. Jin-Woo dismissed most of his soldiers with a thought, keeping only Idris manifested. The blood-red commander took up a guard position near the younglings, his armored form somehow managing to project reassurance despite being made entirely of shadow. "The immediate threat is contained," Jin-Woo said, noting how the Jedi instructor's hand tightened on her lightsaber at his voice. "But there are more droids in the temple. My soldiers are hunting them now. You should get these children to safety." She struggled to find words, her Force senses clearly overwhelmed by what she was witnessing. "You're the one the Council was questioning, the Shadow Monarch. Master Windu ordered you to remain in the Council chamber." "Master Windu's orders don't mean much when children are dying," Jin-Woo replied flatly. He moved to where Kenth Oro had collapsed against a training dummy. His leg wound was severe. The blaster had melted through armor and flesh, cauterizing even as it destroyed. In Jin-Woo's world, a healing potion from his inventory would fix this easily. He reached into his dimensional storage and withdrew a high-grade healing potion, the red liquid glowing faintly in its crystalline vial. "Drink this. It will accelerate your body's natural healing." Kenth stared up the offered potion with suspicion. "What is it? Some form of Sith alchemy?" "It's medicine from my world," Jin-Woo said patiently. "You can sense my intentions through your Force, can't you? I'm not trying to poison you, I'm trying to help." Sora extended her awareness, probing at Jin-Woo's motivations, the way Jedi were trained to do when encountering unknown Force sensitives. What she found clearly shocked her. No darkness, no deception, just straightforward concern for an injured warrior. She nodded to Kenth, who reluctantly accepted the potion and drank. The effect was immediate. The Zabrak gasped as his leg wound began knitting itself back together, flesh regenerating at visible speed. Within 30 seconds, the injury had closed completely, leaving only scarred skin and melted armor as evidence of the damage. "Impossible," Kenth breathed, flexing his leg experimentally. "Bacta takes hours to achieve this level of healing. What you just gave me, it's more potent than anything I've encountered. Where I'm from, hunters face life-threatening injuries regularly. Potions like that are standard equipment for high-level raids. I have dozens in my inventory."
His system pinged with multiple notifications. Shadow soldiers report. 19 hostile units neutralized. Jedi casualties prevented, 47. Temple structural damage prevented, 86%. Quest completion, 94%. Final hostile unit detected, Sub-Level 3, Archival Vault. Jin-Woo's expression darkened. One droid remaining, and it had reached the deepest levels of the temple. Whatever the Separatists truly wanted, that lone unit was attempting to complete the mission while its companions created chaos above. "I need to go," he said abruptly. "There's one more droid in the archives. It's after something specific." "We'll come with you," Sora began, but Jin-Woo was already moving toward the wall, his shadow spreading across its surface.
Stay with the younglings. Make sure they reach safety. This is what I do." He stepped through the wall via shadow transport, leaving the Jedi behind. His consciousness dove through the temple structure, following the dark spaces between walls and floors, navigating by instinct and his system's guidance. Sub-level 3 appeared in his awareness, a vast chamber lined with ancient homocrons and data cards containing thousands of years of accumulated Jedi knowledge. The assassin droid stood before a particular vault, its mechanical limbs interfacing with the security systems. Jin-Woo materialized from the vault's shadow, startling the machine into defensive protocols. But this droid was different from the others. Sleeker, more advanced, with optical sensors that somehow tracked his movement despite the impossible speed. Identification, unknown force user. Priority, eliminate witness, complete data extraction. Probability of mission success, recalculating. It moved with fluid grace that shouldn't have been possible for a machine, drawing twin vibro blades that hummed with energy. The droid's combat algorithms were clearly several generations beyond its assassin companions. This was a prototype, something the Separatists had invested significant resources in creating. Jin-Woo settled into a combat stance, his daggers materializing wreathed in shadow energy. "You're not leaving this room with whatever you came for." "Correction, you are not leaving this room at all." The droid attacked with blinding speed, its vibroblade slashing in patterns designed to overwhelm even Jedi reflexes. Jin-Woo met the assault head-on, his enhanced perception letting him track every strike, every feint. Shadow energy clashed against vibrating metal in cascades of sparks and darkness. The droid adapted with each exchange, its processors analyzing Jin-Woo's fighting style and adjusting tactics in real time. Impressive. This machine would have killed most opponents through sheer computational advantage. But Jin-Woo had fought enemies that adapted far faster than any artificial intelligence. Monarchs who'd existed for eons, perfecting their combat skills across dimensional wars. He let the droid think it was gaining the advantage, allowed it to press its assault, its algorithms calculating victory percentages rising with each passing second. Then Jin-Woo moved with true speed, the velocity that had let him dance between the Frost Monarch's attacks. His dagger pierced the droid's central core before it could process the change in tempo. Analysis, error, unknown energy type, corrupting all protocols, mission, failure. The droid collapsed. Jin-Woo examined the vault it had been attempting to breach, a specialized container that radiated that omnipresent force energy more intensely than anything else in the archives. Whatever lay inside was important enough for the Separatists to sacrifice 22 assassin droids and risk a direct assault on the Jedi Temple. Behind him, the archive doors exploded inward. Mace Windu led the charge, his purple lightsaber ignited, with half the Jedi Council at his back. They surrounded Jin-Woo in a tactical formation, their faces grim with suspicion and battle readiness. "Step away from the vault," Windu commanded, his voice carrying absolute authority. "Your shadow army is spread throughout the temple. You violate our sanctuary, deploy an undead legion in our sacred halls, and now we find you attempting to breach our most secured archives. Explain yourself immediately, or we will consider you a hostile threat and respond accordingly."
Jin-Woo gestured calmly to the destroyed droid at his feet. "I'm not the one who tried to break in. That's the real infiltrator. A prototype assassin droid sent to steal whatever you're keeping in that vault. The other droids were a distraction. Obi-Wan Kenobi, who just arrived with Anakin Skywalker in tow, knelt to examine the machine. His expression shifted from suspicion to concern as he identified the technology. He's right. This is a new model. Advanced stealth capabilities. Combat algorithms beyond anything we've encountered. If it had reached the holocron vault, it didn't, Jin-Woo interrupted. My shadows stopped it, just like they stopped the other 19 droids from killing your students and destroying your temple's structural supports. Plo Koon stepped forward, his vocoder resonating with measured calm. Master Windu, I've received reports from throughout the temple. His shadow soldiers engage the Separatist units with precision and efficiency. Multiple Jedi instructors confirm that his intervention prevented significant casualties. The younglings in Training Chamber 7 would have died without his assistance. Mace Windu's jaw tightened. Jin-Woo could see the conflict playing across the Jedi Master's features, gratitude warring with suspicion, relief that the attack had been stopped competing with fear of what Jin-Woo's power represented. These Jedi were warriors fighting a war on multiple fronts, stretched thin, constantly vigilant for the next threat. Having someone like him appear and demonstrate overwhelming force, even in their defense, challenged their sense of control. You defied a direct order. I saved lives. If following orders meant letting children die while I sat in your council chamber, then your orders were wrong. Anakin Skywalker actually smiled at that response, earning a sharp look from Obi-Wan. The younger Jedi clearly appreciated the blunt defiance, even if his master didn't. Yoda tapped his walking stick against the floor, drawing everyone's attention. Judge him by his actions, we should, not by our fear of his power. Saved our younglings, he did. Defended our temple when we could not be everywhere at once. Question his methods we may, but question his intentions we cannot. Master Yoda, Ki Adi Mundi protested. His army of shadows. Fought beside us, they did, not against us. The difference perhaps the council should remember. Jin-Woo felt his system pulse with a completion notification. Quest complete. Protect the innocent. Rewards. Shadow extraction compatibility increased to 47%. New ability unlocked. Force-sensitive shadow extraction. Note: further adaptation required for full compatibility.
Interesting. His system was learning to interface with this galaxy's unique energy signature. Soon he'd be able to extract shadows from force-sensitive beings, adding Jedi or Sith to his army if he chose. That capability would either terrify the Council or convince them he was too dangerous to let live. Before anyone could speak further, alarms blared throughout the temple again. A hologram materialized, Chancellor Palpatine's face, his expression grave with concern. "Masters of the Jedi Council," Palpatine began, his voice carrying carefully measured distress. "I've just received word that the Separatists have launched a major offensive on Christophsis. The planet's defenses are crumbling. I'm ordering you to dispatch Jedi generals immediately. The Republic cannot afford to lose this system." Jin-Woo watched the Council's reaction, noting how quickly they shifted from dealing with him to military strategy. This war consumed their every thought, shaped their every decision, and something about the Chancellor's hologram made his instincts prickle, a subtle wrongness he couldn't quite identify. His system flagged the transmission with a cryptic notation. Anomaly detected. Dimensional energy signature. Source unidentified. Warning, deception probability high. Jin-Woo filed that information away. Whatever was happening in this galaxy, it was more complex than a simple war between Republic and Separatists. There were layers here, schemes within schemes, just like the political games back home. "We'll discuss your status later," Mace Windu said to Jin-Woo, already moving toward the exit. "For now, you will remain in the temple under supervision. Do not deploy your shadow army again without explicit council authorization." "And if another attack happens while you're gone?" Jin-Woo asked. Windu paused at the doorway. "Then I suppose we'll have to trust that you'll do what's right, even if it means defying orders again." It wasn't quite acceptance, but it was acknowledgement. Jin-Woo could work with that. As the council dispersed to prepare for the Christophsis campaign, Anakin Skywalker lingered behind. The young Jedi approached Jin-Woo with open curiosity rather than suspicion. "That was quite the entrance," Anakin said with a grin. "Most people trying to make a good impression don't start by ignoring direct orders from the council. I'm not trying to make an impression. I'm trying to go home." "About that," Anakin's expression turned more serious. "This galaxy is at war. Republic against Separatists, Jedi against Sith. And if you're as powerful as you seem, both sides are going to want you on their team. The council might act like they're just studying you, but they're evaluating whether you're an asset or a threat. And what do you think I am?" Anakin studied him for a long moment. "I think you're someone who does what he believes is right, regardless of what authority figures tell him. I can respect that. Just be careful. This war isn't as simple as good versus evil. There are politics, hidden agendas, and people who'll use you if you let them. I appreciate the warning, even if it came from someone barely into their 20s. This Skywalker has good instincts, even if his emotional control seemed questionable by Jedi standards." "Thanks for the advice," Jin-Woo said, "but I've dealt with politicians and schemers before. Whatever games are being played in this galaxy, I won't be anyone's pawn." Anakin laughed. "Yeah, I believe that. Good luck with the council. You're going to need it." As the young Jedi left to join his master, Jin-Woo stood alone in the archives, surrounded by millennia of accumulated Jedi knowledge. His shadow soldiers had withdrawn to their dimension, awaiting his next command. The temple above had returned to cautious normalcy, though he could feel hundreds of eyes watching him through the Force. He'd saved them today, proven his power could be used for protection rather than destruction. But he'd also shown them exactly how dangerous he could be if he chose. The Jedi would be debating his fate for hours, trying to decide whether the Shadow Monarch was friend or foe. Jin-Woo didn't particularly care about their decision. He'd find his way home with or without their help. But as his system continued adapting to this galaxy's unique energy signature, as his power grew more compatible with the Force itself, he couldn't help but wonder what would happen when he could finally extract shadows from Jedi and Sith, when his army could include Force wielders whose abilities transcended normal mortality. That day was coming. His system guaranteed it. And when it arrived, this galaxy's carefully maintained balance between light and dark would face something neither side had prepared for.
The Clone Wars had consumed the galaxy for 18 months, turning paradise worlds into battlefields and stretching the Jedi Order to its breaking point. Christophsis, a crystal planet that gleamed like a jewel among the Outer Rim territories, had become the latest flashpoint in a conflict that seemed designed to never end.
Separatist forces under General Worm Loathsome had surrounded the capital city, their droid army advancing through crystalline canyons while Republic forces fought a desperate holding action. Jin-Woo stood on the bridge of a Venator-class star destroyer, watching the planet grow larger in the viewport as the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The Jedi Council had made their decision regarding his status with surprising speed. He would accompany the relief force to Christophsis as an independent observer. Translation, they wanted to see what he would do under actual combat conditions, whether his power served the greater good or his own agenda. Anakin Skywalker commanded this mission, with Obi-Wan Kenobi as his co-general. The younger Jedi had actually requested Jin-Woo's presence, arguing that someone with his capabilities could turn the tide of battle without risking Jedi lives. Master Windu had reluctantly agreed, though Jin-Woo suspected the true reason was simpler. Better to have the Shadow Monarch where they could watch him than loose in the temple with unsupervised access to Jedi secrets. "First time commanding a military operation?" Anakin asked, moving to stand beside Jin-Woo at the viewport. The young Jedi's enthusiasm for combat was evident, his hand resting casually on his lightsaber hilt as if eager to draw it. "I've led raids against S-ranked monsters, cleared gates that required teams of 50 hunters, faced armies that outnumbered my forces 1,000 to 1. This is just a different battlefield." "Different how?" Jin-Woo gestured to the fleet surrounding them, Venator-class destroyers, smaller cruisers, and dozens of support craft carrying legions of clone troopers. "In my world, hunters worked in small teams, elite forces against concentrated threats. Here, you fight with massive armies across entire planets. The scale is impressive, but also inefficient. Too many variables, too many chances for command structure failures." Anakin grinned. "You sound like Obi-Wan. He's always criticizing my tactical decisions, saying I take too many risks." "Do you?" "Depends on whether the plan works." Despite himself, Jin-Woo felt a flicker of amusement. This Anakin reminded him of some of the more reckless S-rank hunters back home. Talented, powerful, and convinced of their own invincibility right until reality taught them otherwise. The difference was that Anakin operated under the Jedi Code's restrictions, forcing passion and instinct into a philosophical framework that seemed to chafe against his nature. The ship shuddered as Separatist turbo-laser fire began impacting their shields. The battle had officially begun. "All units, prepare for deployment," Anakin's voice rang across the bridge. "First wave, ATTEs and heavy armor to establish beachhead. Second wave, LAAT gunships with infantry support. Third wave," he paused, glancing at Jin-Woo with that characteristic grin. "Well, you're kind of your own wave, aren't you?" "I work better alone," Jin-Woo confirmed. "Point me toward your primary objective and stay out of my way." Obi-Wan Kenobi materialized via hologram, his image flickering as jamming attempted to disrupt communications. "Anakin, we're pinned down in the Eastern District. Loathsome has deployed those new heavy assault droids. Our ATTEs can't penetrate their armor, and we're taking significant casualties. We need immediate reinforcement, or we'll have to fall back to secondary positions." "We're 3 minutes from landing," Anakin replied, his playful demeanor shifting to combat focus. "Hold your position. I'm sending our secret weapon." Obi-Wan's hologram turned toward Jin-Woo, his bearded face skeptical. "The Shadow Monarch, Anakin, we discussed this. He's an unknown quantity. Deploying him in active combat
is exactly what the Council wants us to do," Anakin interrupted. "They want to see what he can do under pressure. Well, here's the pressure. Jin-Woo, can you handle an entire battalion of heavy assault droids?"
Jin-Woo's system had been analyzing the battlefield data streaming across the Star Destroyer's tactical displays. The Separatist forces numbered in the tens of thousands: B-1 battle droids, B-2 super battle droids, Drycotas, and the new OG-9 homing spider droids that were tearing through Republic armor. Conventional tactics would require hours of grinding combat, thousands of casualties, resources expended for inches of ground. He could end this in minutes. "I'll clear the Eastern District," Jin-Woo said, "but I need a direct insertion. No gunship, no support craft. Just get me to the surface." Anakin's grin widened. "I like your style. How do you plan to—" Jin-Woo's shadow expanded beneath his feet, spreading across the bridge floor like spilled ink. Before anyone could react, he dropped through it, his form dissolving into darkness. The clone troopers on the bridge shouted in alarm, their training warring with the impossibility of what they'd just witnessed. "Did he just—" Obi-Wan's hologram sputtered. "Teleport?" Anakin finished. "Yeah, through shadows. It's actually pretty cool once you get used to it." "Anakin, you can't just let an unvetted asset deploy independently into active combat." "Too late. He's already gone." Jin-Woo emerged from the shadow of a destroyed ATTE on Christophsis' surface, immediately assessing his surroundings. The Eastern District was a war zone. Crystal towers shattered into glittering fragments, smoke rising from burning vehicles, clone troopers in white armor taking cover behind makeshift barricades as droid forces advanced in overwhelming numbers. The heavy assault droids Obi-Wan had mentioned were massive constructs, 3 meters tall with reinforced armor plating and dual heavy blaster cannons. 12 of them advanced in formation, supported by hundreds of standard battle droids. Behind Republic lines, Jin-Woo could see the casualties, troopers down, medics working frantically, Jedi deflecting blaster fire with visible strain. This was a losing position. Another 10 minutes and the line would collapse. Jin-Woo raised both hands, his eyes glowing purple as he accessed his full power. Arise. His shadow exploded outward like a detonation of pure darkness, spreading across the battlefield in a wave that made every force sensitive within a kilometer radius recoil in shock. From that darkness came his army. Not dozens, not hundreds, but the full 847 soldiers he'd accumulated across his battles as Shadow Monarch. Igris led the vanguard, the blood-red commander's twin swords already moving as he crashed into the nearest heavy assault droid. Shadow energy met Durasteel in a shower of sparks. The droid's targeting systems locked onto Igris and fired both cannons at point-blank range. The blaster bolts passed straight through the Shadow Warrior's immaterial form, striking the droids behind him instead. Igris's swords carved through the assault droid's reinforced plating like it was paper.
Beru descended from above, having shadow-stepped directly onto a spider droid's back. Her razor limbs punched through its armor, flooding its systems with corrupting shadow energy. The machine convulsed and collapsed, its 8 legs folding as its processors died. Her ant soldiers swarmed across the battlefield in a chittering tide, overwhelming standard battle droids through sheer numbers. Tank charged through enemy lines with the unstoppable momentum of his namesake, his massive shadow bear form absorbing blaster fire that would have killed dozens of clone troopers. Iron followed in his wake, the Shadow Knight's warhammer pulverizing droids into scrap with each swing. Jima, Tusk, and a dozen other named shadows spread through the battlefield, each one a legend from Jin-Woo's previous battles, now unleashed against technology that had no framework to counter them. The Separatist droids attempted to adapt, their targeting systems locked on to the shadows, their tactical processors calculating optimal firing solutions. It didn't matter. Jin-Woo's soldiers existed partially outside physical reality, solid when they struck, immaterial when attacked. Blaster fire passed through them harmlessly, while their weapons carved through metal and circuits with devastating efficiency. Behind Republic lines, clone troopers watched in stunned silence as the tide of battle reversed in seconds. Jedi Masters Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luminara Unduli stood frozen, their lightsabers held in forgotten defensive positions as they witnessed 800 shadows massacre an entire droid battalion. "What in the Force?" Luminara whispered. Jin-Woo walked through the chaos with casual confidence, his system tracking each engagement, each victory, each destroyed enemy. The battlefield data scrolled across his vision in a cascade of notifications. Targets eliminated, 247, 389, 562. Shadow Army efficiency, 97.3%. Civilian casualties, 0. Friendly fire incidents, 0. Analysis, droid combat protocols insufficient against dimensional entities. A spider droid's targeting laser painted Jin-Woo's chest, the machine's legs adjusted for optimal firing angle, its heavy cannon charging for a shot that could vaporize a gunship. Jin-Woo raised one hand almost lazily. "Arise." The destroyed assault droid that Egress had just killed, still smoking from the damage, its central processor barely functional, suddenly lurched back to vertical. Shadow energy poured from its shattered chassis as Jin-Woo's power wrapped around its broken form. The machine's photoreceptors flickered from red to purple. Its weapon systems reactivated, now serving a new master. The spider droid fired. Jin-Woo's newly extracted shadow droid intercepted the blast with its own body, absorbing the damage to protect its monarch. Then it returned fire, its corrupted system somehow more accurate than before. The spider droid exploded in a cascade of sparks and shrapnel. Shadow extraction successful. New unit, Shadow Assault Droid, level 47. Technological necromancy confirmed functional.
Jin-Woo smiled grimly. His system's adaptation was complete. He could now extract shadows from this galaxy's technology, turning enemy forces into his own army. Every droid destroyed became a potential soldier. Every fallen foe strengthened his forces. The Separatists had brought thousands of machines to this battlefield. They just handed him thousands of potential recruits. He waded into the thickest concentration of enemy forces, his daggers carving through droids with surgical precision. Each kill was immediately followed by extraction, shadow energy pouring into destroyed circuits, corrupting their core programming, binding them to his will. The extracted shadow droids rose with purple optical sensors, their weapons turning against their former allies. The droid army found itself fighting itself, unable to distinguish between compromised units and loyal ones. Their tactical processors couldn't adapt fast enough. Command and control broke down as shadow-corrupted droids infiltrated their formations, firing on targets that matched their own identification protocols. It was beautiful, efficient chaos. Exactly the kind of asymmetric warfare Jin-Woo had perfected against the monarchs. "All units, ceasefire!" Obi-Wan's voice rang across Republic comms. "Let the Shadow Monarch work. Do not engage any droids with purple optical sensors. They're friendlies now." "Friendlies?" a clone captain's voice crackled back. "Sir, those are Separatist assault droids." "Not anymore, Captain. Just watch." The battle that should have lasted hours ended in 12 minutes. When the last Separatist droid fell, Jin-Woo stood in the center of the Eastern District, surrounded by hundreds of shadow-corrupted machines now bound to his will.
His original 800 organic shadows had returned to his dimension, their task complete. But he'd gained 217 new technological shadows in their place, a mechanized battalion that would serve him until he released them or they were destroyed beyond his ability to repair. He dismissed them with a thought, the shadow droids dissolving back into darkness. He'd keep them in reserve, ready to deploy when needed. The ability to extract technological shadows opened interesting tactical possibilities he'd need to explore. Anakin's gunship touched down nearby, the young Jedi leaping out before the craft fully landed. His face carried an expression of pure exhilaration. "That was incredible! You just soloed an entire battalion! Do you have any idea how many lives you just saved? The casualty projections for taking this district were in the hundreds. You reduced it to 0. "It's what I do," Jin-Woo replied simply. "Where's your next problem area?" Obi-Wan approached more cautiously, his expression troubled despite their victory. "The Western District. General Loathsome has his command center there, protected by deflector shields and heavy artillery. We'd need to commit our entire force for a frontal assault, and even then, success isn't guaranteed. So send me instead." "You can't be serious," Obi-Wan said. "We just watched you annihilate a droid battalion, but a fortified command center is different. They'll have shield generators, automated defenses, layers of security. Which won't matter if I shadow step through the walls. Shields stop blaster fire and physical projectiles. They don't stop dimensional travel. I can be inside Loathsome's headquarters in seconds." "Assassination mission," Anakin thought thoughtfully. "Take out the command structure and the droid army loses coordination. It's tactically sound." "It's also extremely dangerous," Obi-Wan countered. "We don't know what security measures they have inside that facility. If you're captured or killed..." "I won't be."
Jin-Woo smiled grimly. His system's adaptation was complete. He could now extract shadows from this galaxy's technology, turning enemy forces into his own army. Every droid destroyed became a potential soldier. Every fallen foe strengthened his forces. The Separatists had brought thousands of machines to this battlefield. They just handed him thousands of potential recruits. He waded into the thickest concentration of enemy forces, his daggers carving through droids with surgical precision. Each kill was immediately followed by extraction, shadow energy pouring into destroyed circuits, corrupting their core programming, binding them to his will. The extracted shadow droids rose with purple optical sensors, their weapons turning against their former allies. The droid army found itself fighting itself, unable to distinguish between compromised units and loyal ones. Their tactical processors couldn't adapt fast enough. Command and control broke down as shadow-corrupted droids infiltrated their formations, firing on targets that matched their own identification protocols. It was beautiful, efficient chaos. Exactly the kind of asymmetric warfare Jin-Woo had perfected against the Monarchs. "All units, cease fire," Obi-Wan's voice rang across Republic comms. "Let the Shadow Monarch work. Do not engage any droids with purple optical sensors. They're friendlies now." "Friendlies?" A clone captain's voice crackled back. "Sir, those are Separatist assault droids." "Not anymore, Captain. Just watch." The battle that should have lasted hours ended in 12 minutes. When the last Separatist droid fell, Jin-Woo stood in the center of the Eastern District, surrounded by hundreds of shadow-corrupted machines now bound to his will. His original 800 organic shadows had returned to his dimension, their task complete. But he'd gained 217 new technological shadows in their place. a mechanized battalion that would serve him until he released them or they were destroyed beyond his ability to repair. He dismissed them with a thought, the shadow droids dissolving back into darkness. He'd keep them in reserve, ready to deploy when needed. The ability to extract technological shadows opened interesting tactical possibilities he'd need to explore. Anakin's gunship touched down nearby, the young Jedi leaping out before the craft fully landed. His face carried an expression of pure exhilaration. "That was incredible," Anakin exclaimed. "You just soloed an entire battalion. Do you have any idea how many lives you just saved? The casualty projections for taking this district were in the hundreds. You reduced it to 0. "It's what I do," Jin-Woo replied simply. "Where's your next problem area?" Obi-Wan approached more cautiously, his expression troubled despite their victory. "The Western District. General Loathsome has his command center there, protected by deflector shields and heavy artillery. We'd need to commit our entire force for a frontal assault, and even then, success is not guaranteed. So send me instead."
"You can't be serious," Obi-Wan said. "We just watched you annihilate a droid battalion, but a fortified command center is different. They'll have shield generators, automated defenses, layers of security." "Which won't matter if I shadow step through the walls," Jin-Woo interrupted. "Shields stop blaster fire and physical projectiles. They don't stop dimensional travel. I can be inside Loathsome's headquarters in seconds." "Assassination mission," Anakin said thoughtfully. "Take out the command structure, and the droid army loses coordination. It's tactically sound." "It's also extremely dangerous," Obi-Wan countered. "We don't know what security measures they have inside that facility. If you're captured or killed, I won't be." The absolute confidence in Jin-Woo's voice made both Jedi pause. This wasn't arrogance or bravado. It was a simple statement of fact from someone who'd faced death countless times and always emerged victorious. Before they could debate further, a new presence made itself known. Jin-Woo felt it before he saw it. That wrongness he detected in Chancellor Palpatine's hologram now amplified and crystallized into something far more dangerous. A figure materialized via holographic transmission on Anakin's wrist communicator. Count Dooku, former Jedi Master, now Sith Lord and leader of the Separatist movement. His aristocratic features carried a smile that didn't reach his eyes. General Skywalker, General Kenobi, and the mysterious Shadow Monarch who has caused such disruption to my forces. I must admit, your arrival is unexpected, but not unwelcome. Dooku, Anakin's hand moved to his lightsaber. If you're calling to surrender, surrender? Hardly. My attention focused entirely on Jin-Woo, and for the first time since arriving in this galaxy, Jin-Woo felt genuine danger emanate from someone. This man, this Sith, radiated power that transcended normal Force users. You command death itself, young monarch. You've demonstrated power that rivals the greatest Force wielders in galactic history. Yet you waste your gifts serving Jedi who fear you and a Republic too corrupt to appreciate you. I'm not serving anyone, Jin-Woo replied evenly. I'm just trying to go home. Are you? Or are you beginning to realize that this galaxy offers opportunities your primitive dimension never could? Unlimited subjects for your shadow army, technologies that could enhance your power beyond imagination, a war that provides endless enemies to convert into loyal soldiers. Jin-Woo's system flagged the transmission with urgent warnings. Alert, force manipulation detected, dark side influence attempt, mental resistance active. Warning, subject attempting psychological recruitment. So Dooku was trying to corrupt him through subtle force manipulation, planting suggestions that Jin-Woo's power could be maximized by embracing the Separatist cause. The attempt was sophisticated, targeting ambition and pragmatism rather than emotion.
It might have worked on someone less experienced with mental attacks. Jin-Woo had resisted the architect's reality manipulation. A Sith Lord's psychological tricks were amateur hour by comparison. "Your offer doesn't interest me," Jin-Woo said flatly. "I've met tyrants before. They all think they're different, that their cause justifies their methods. They're always wrong." Dooku's expression hardened. "How disappointing. I'd hoped you possessed the wisdom to recognize strength when it was offered. Very well. If you insist on serving the losing side of this war, you'll share their fate. General Loathsome has orders to deploy our experimental weapon specifically against you. Let's see how your shadows fare against technology designed to counter Force users." The transmission cut off. Immediately, alarms blared across Republic communication channels. Artillery fire rained down on their position, not random bombardment, but precision strikes targeting Jin-Woo's exact coordinates. Someone had painted him with targeting data. "Move!" Obi-Wan shouted, force pushing nearby troopers clear as explosions bracketed their position. Jin-Woo shadow stepped away, emerging 100 meters distant, but the bombardment followed him, adjusting with impossible accuracy. His system identified the source, orbital satellites tracking his dimensional signature, his shadow energy leaving traces these Separatists had learned to detect. "They're tracking your power," Anakin realized, his tactical mind processing the threat. "Every time you use your shadows, they can pinpoint your location." More artillery fire. Jin-Woo dodged again, but the pattern was clear. The Separatists had developed countermeasures specifically for him, probably from analyzing the Temple attack. If he deployed his shadow army, he'd be bombarded into oblivion. If he didn't deploy them, he'd be vulnerable to conventional attacks. A tactical trap, forcing him to choose between his primary ability and survival. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed. Dooku had just made a critical mistake. He'd revealed that the Separatists considered Jin-Woo enough of a threat to develop specialized weapons. That meant they feared him, and anything that feared you could be exploited. "Anakin," Jin-Woo said, an idea forming, "how fast can you get me to an orbital platform?" "What?" "They're tracking me from orbit, so I'll go to them, destroy their tracking satellites, and eliminate their tactical advantage. Then I'll hit Loathsome's command center before they can redeploy." "That's insane," Obi-Wan protested. "You can't survive in vacuum. Even Force users need oxygen." Jin-Woo smiled. "I'm not a Force user, and you'd be surprised what a Shadow Monarch can survive." He'd regenerated from injuries that would kill normal humans, operated in environments that would destroy unprotected flesh. His system provided life support functions that transcended biological limitations. Vacuum was just another hostile environment. Besides, it was time to show this galaxy exactly what the Shadow Monarch could do when properly motivated. Dooku wanted to see his shadows tested against specialized weapons? Fine. Jin-Woo would show him that some powers can't be countered by technology, preparation, or even the Force itself.
The Republic assault shuttle screamed through Christophsis' atmosphere, its hull rattling as anti-aircraft fire bracketed its trajectory. Anakin Skywalker piloted with the reckless precision that had made him legendary among clone troopers, diving through gaps in the defensive fire that shouldn't exist, pulling maneuvers that would tear apart standard craft. In the co-pilot seat, Obi-Wan Kenobi maintained a white-knuckled grip on his restraints while simultaneously deflecting the occasional blaster bolt that penetrated their shields. Jin-Woo stood in the passenger compartment, utterly calm despite the violent turbulence. His system displayed orbital trajectories, calculating optimal approach vectors to the Separatist tracking satellites. 6 platforms hung in low orbit, their sophisticated sensors locked on his dimensional signature. Every time he'd used shadow energy on the surface, these satellites had triangulated his position and called down devastating artillery strikes. Dooku's experimental weapon wasn't some new battle droid or energy weapon, it was information warfare. Track the Shadow Monarch,
predict his movements and eliminate him through overwhelming firepower before he could deploy his army. A sound strategy against most opponents. But the Count had made a critical error. He'd assumed Jin-Woo fought like a Force user, bound by Jedi limitations and Sith philosophy. That assumption would cost him. Approaching the exosphere, Anakin announced over the comm. "You sure about this? Because once we breach orbit, there's no atmosphere, no gravity assistance, and definitely no rescue if something goes wrong." "I'm sure," Jin-Woo replied. He moved to the shuttle's rear hatch, his hand resting on the emergency release. Through the viewport, he could see the curvature of Christophsis below, the planet's crystalline surface glittering like a gemstone. Above, the black void of space beckoned, dotted with the distant lights of Separatist satellites and the larger shapes of their fleet. "The Force be with you," Obi-Wan said, and despite his reservations about Jin-Woo's methods, the blessing sounded genuine. Jin-Woo nodded once, then slapped the hatch release. Explosive decompression should have ripped him from the shuttle and sent him tumbling through vacuum. Instead, his shadow expanded like wings, stabilizing his form as he stepped into the void. The system immediately compensated for the hostile environment, creating a dimensional barrier around his body that maintained pressure and temperature while allowing him to move freely. Vacuum adaptation active, life support, dimensional energy conversion, mobility, shadow propulsion functional, oxygen supply, indefinite via inventory cycling. Jin-Woo had fought in the Architect's pocket dimension, a realm where physics itself was negotiable. Vacuum was nothing compared to that nightmare. He oriented himself towards the nearest satellite, a massive construct bristling with sensor arrays and defensive turrets. The satellite detected his approach immediately, its automated systems classifying him as hostile and engaging point defense weapons. Laser fire cut through the void, precise streams of coherent light designed to vaporize incoming missiles. Jin-Woo shadow stepped between the beams, his form dissolving and reforming as he closed the distance. The satellite's targeting systems couldn't track dimensional movement. One moment he was 1,000 meters away, the next he stood on the platform's hull, his daggers already moving. Shadow energy carved through reinforced plating, bypassing shields designed to stop conventional weapons. Jin-Woo's daggers punched into the satellite's core processor, flooding its systems with corrupting darkness. The platform shuddered as its programming collapsed, every subroutine overwritten by shadow commands. Shadow extraction successful. New unit. Shadow tracking satellite, level 52. Technological necromancy, orbital platform variant. The satellite's turrets swiveled to target its sister platforms, now serving Jin-Woo's will. He shadow stepped to the next target before the Separatist could react, moving through the orbital network like death itself. Each platform he corrupted turned against the others, creating cascading failures in their defensive coordination. On the bridge of the Separatist command ship Invincible, General Loathsome watched his carefully constructed surveillance network disintegrate in real time. "How is this possible?" the Kirkwoidan general demanded, his gravelly voice rising in frustration. "Those platforms were hardened against Jedi infiltration. They should be impervious to Force attacks." "He's not using the Force, General," his tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking nervously. "Our sensors detect dimensional energy signatures inconsistent with known Jedi techniques. Whatever he is, he operates outside our tactical parameters."
Loathsome's primary eyes narrowed while his auxiliary eyes scanned tactical displays. This Shadow Monarch had just eliminated their primary advantage in less than 4 minutes. Without orbital tracking, they couldn't predict his movements or coordinate effective countermeasures. The mysterious stranger had become an uncontrollable variable that threatened the entire Christophsis campaign. "Recall all forces to the command center," Loathsome ordered. "Deploy every droid battalion we have in defensive formations. If we can't track him, we'll create a defensive perimeter so dense that even he cannot penetrate it. And contact Count Dooku immediately. He needs to know his recruitment attempt has failed spectacularly." Jin-Woo finished corrupting the 6th satellite and paused, floating in orbit while his system analyzed the tactical situation below. The Separatist fleet had begun repositioning, moving to protect their ground installations. More importantly, he could see massive droid columns converging on the western district where Loathsome's headquarters stood.
thousands of battle droids forming layered defensive rings that would cost the Republic dearly to breach. His comm unit crackled to life, Anakin's voice breathless with excitement. "Jin-Woo, you beautiful, crazy bastard! Our orbital sensors show the tracking network is down. Whatever you did up there." I turned their satellites against them. Now they're blind. But Loathsome knows I'm coming for his command center. He's consolidated his forces into a defensive fortress. Can you break through? Jin-Woo considered the question. Thousands of droids, heavy artillery, deflector shields, and whatever specialized anti-force weapons Dooku had provided. A frontal assault would be suicide for conventional forces. Even Jedi Masters would struggle against those numbers. But Jin-Woo wasn't conventional forces, and he'd just gained orbital superiority. "Tell your fleet to pull back to minimum safe distance. I'm going to try something that might violate several of your tactical doctrines." "That's what I like to hear. Obi-Wan, you catching this?" "Unfortunately, yes," Kenobi's dry voice replied. "Please tell me you're not planning to." Jin-Woo shadow-stepped back to the corrupted satellites, his shadow consciousness spreading across all 6 platforms simultaneously. His system had fully integrated their functions, turning sophisticated Separatist technology into extensions of his shadow army. These weren't just weapons platforms anymore. They were his eyes, his weapons, and his judgment, rendered from the heavens. "Arise." 6 orbital satellites pulsed with purple energy, their targeting systems recalibrating under shadow control. Their weapons arrays swiveled downward, locking onto densest concentrations of droid forces surrounding Loathsome's headquarters. The platforms weren't designed for orbital bombardment. Their turbo lasers lacked the power for effective surface strikes. Jin-Woo didn't need turbo lasers. He had something better. His shadow energy poured into their power cores, flooding their reactors with dimensional energy that existed outside normal physics. The platforms began to glow, their hulls vibrating as shadow power converted their mechanical systems into something far more dangerous.
Loathsome's sensors detected the incoming threats too late. Point defense systems engaged, firing desperately at targets moving far faster than their targeting parameters allowed. A few shots connected, doing negligible damage to platforms reinforced by dimensional energy. The first satellite struck the outermost defensive ring at terminal velocity. The impact vaporized 300 battle droids instantly, the shockwave tearing through droid ranks like paper. But the platform didn't disintegrate. It stood, a towering monolith of corrupted technology, now planted in the middle of Separatist lines. Its turrets swiveled and opened fire, purple energy bolts cutting through droid formations with mechanical precision. The 2nd through 6th satellites followed, each one obliterating a different section of Loathsome's defensive perimeter. Within seconds, the carefully constructed fortress had become a killing ground, with shadow-corrupted platforms firing into panicked droid forces from multiple angles. Jin-Woo descended behind his orbital artillery, shadow stepping from vacuum to atmosphere to surface in a single smooth transition. He landed in the center of chaos, his feet touching crystalline ground as droids attempted to reorganize around him. "Stand down," Jin-Woo commanded. The corrupted satellites broadcast his will across every droid communication frequency, flooding their networks with shadow-infected commands. Hundreds of droids stopped mid-motion, their processors overwhelmed by instructions that superseded their original programming. Those with sophisticated enough AI to resist found themselves targeted by their own companions, friendly fire tearing through their ranks as Jin-Woo's viral commands spread through the network. The Separatist droid army was eating itself alive. General Loathsome watched from his command center, all 4 eyes wide with disbelief as his entire force collapsed without the Republic firing a single shot. Decades of military experience, countless battles won through superior tactics and overwhelming numbers, all rendered meaningless by one being who simply refused to play by the galaxy's rules. "This is impossible," Loathsome whispered. "No Force user has ever demonstrated this level of technological corruption. Not even Sith alchemy can turn an entire army against itself." "Because I'm not a Force user,"
Jin-Woo's voice came from directly behind him. The general spun, his hand reaching for his blaster, but froze as he found the Shadow Monarch standing in his command center. No alarms had triggered, no guards had called warnings. The human had simply appeared from the shadows cast by their holographic displays, materializing like a ghost. Jin-Woo studied the general with clinical interest. "I'm giving you one chance to surrender. Order your remaining forces to stand down, signal the fleet to withdraw, and this ends without further casualties." Surrender? Loathsome's tactical mind raced through options, calculating odds of victory, weighing honor against survival. You're one being against the might of the Separatist alliance. Count Dooku will send reinforcements. You cannot be everywhere at once. "No," Jin-Woo agreed, "but my shadows can." From every corner of the command center, from every patch of darkness, his shoulders emerged. Not the full army, just his elite named shadows. Egress, Baru, Tank, Iron, and 24 others. Each one a legend, each one impossible, each one staring at Loathsome with the patient stillness of death itself. The general's auxiliary eyes darted between the shadows, recognizing a battle he couldn't win. "If I surrender, what guarantee do I have that you won't simply execute me?" "None," Jin-Woo replied honestly. "But I'm not interested in executing prisoners. I came to this planet to stop a battle, not commit war crimes. Surrender, and you'll be turned over to Republic custody under standard rules of warfare. Resist, and my shadows will tear through this facility until there's nothing left." Loathsome was many things: a military strategist, a loyal Separatist commander, a veteran of countless campaigns. But he was also a realist who understood when the battle was truly lost. This Shadow Monarch wasn't Jedi or Sith, wasn't bound by their codes or philosophies. He was something far more dangerous, a pragmatist with overwhelming power and zero interest in political games. The general reached for his communicator slowly, keeping all four eyes on the shadows surrounding him. "All Separatist forces, this is General Loathsome. Cease all combat operations immediately. Stand down and await prisoner processing. This battle is over." Jin-Woo felt the shift across the battlefield as thousands of droids received the shutdown command and complied. His shadow-corrupted satellites stopped firing. His shadow soldiers remained manifested, but still awaiting his command. In the space of 20 minutes, he'd ended a battle that should have lasted days and cost thousands of lives. His calm crackled. Anakin's voice carried a mix of awe and disbelief. Did you just win the Battle of Christophsis by yourself? Because our sensors are showing mass droid shutdown across all sectors, and we're detecting a general surrender broadcast from Separatist command frequencies." "Battle's over," Jin-Woo confirmed. "Loathsome surrendered. You can send your troops in for prisoner processing." "Unbelievable," Obi-Wan's voice added. "Jin-Woo, what you've accomplished here, the Council needs to see this. The entire Republic needs to understand what you represent." What he represented. Jin-Woo understood the implication. A strategic asset so valuable that both sides of this war would kill to possess or eliminate him. The Jedi would want to bind him to their cause. The Sith would want to corrupt or destroy him. The Republic would want to weaponize him. The Separatists would develop ever more sophisticated countermeasures. He'd become exactly what he'd spent years avoiding, a political pawn in someone else's game. Before Jin-Woo could respond, a new presence made itself known. The temperature in the command center dropped 20 degrees. Frost creeped across displays and crystalline walls. Every shadow in the room seemed to deepen, pressing inward with malevolent intent. Count Dooku materialized via hologram, but this wasn't a normal transmission. The image was too solid, too present. Jin-Woo's system identified it immediately: force projection, an advanced technique that allowed powerful force users to manifest across vast distances with near physical presence. Loathsome's sensors detected the incoming threats too late. Point defense systems engaged, firing desperately at targets moving far faster than their targeting parameters allowed. A few shots connected, doing negligible damage to platforms reinforced by dimensional energy. The first satellite struck the outermost defensive ring at terminal velocity.
The impact vaporized 300 battle droids instantly, the shockwave tearing through droid ranks like paper. But the platform didn't disintegrate. It stood, a towering monolith of corrupted technology, now planted in the middle of Separatist lines. Its turrets swiveled and opened fire, purple energy bolts cutting through droid formations with mechanical precision. The second through sixth satellites followed, each one obliterating a different section of Loathsome's defensive perimeter. Within seconds, the carefully constructed fortress had become a killing ground, with shadow-corrupted platforms firing into panicked droid forces from multiple angles. Jin-Woo descended behind his orbital artillery, shadow-stepping from vacuum to atmosphere to surface in a single smooth transition. He landed in the center of chaos, his feet touching crystalline ground as battle droids attempted to reorganize around him. "Stand down," Jin-Woo commanded. The corrupted satellites broadcast his will across every droid communication frequency, flooding their networks with shadow-infected commands. Hundreds of droids stopped mid-motion, their processors overwhelmed by instructions that superseded their original programming. Those with sophisticated enough AI to resist found themselves targeted by their own companions, friendly fire tearing through their ranks as Jin-Woo's viral command spread through the network. The Separatist droid army was eating itself alive. General Loathsome watched from his command center, all four eyes wide with disbelief as his entire force collapsed without the Republic firing a single shot. Decades of military experience, countless battles won through superior tactics and overwhelming numbers, all rendered meaningless by one being who simply refused to play by the galaxy's rules. "This is impossible," Loathsome whispered. "No Force user has ever demonstrated this level of technological corruption. Not even Sith alchemy can turn an entire army against itself." "Because I'm not a Force user," Jin-Woo's voice came from directly behind him. The general spun, his hand reaching for his blaster, but froze as he found the Shadow Monarch standing in his command center. No alarms had triggered, no guards had called warnings. The human had simply appeared from the shadows, cast by their holographic displays, materializing like a ghost. Jin-Woo studied the general with clinical interest. "I'm giving you one chance to surrender. Order your remaining forces to stand down, signal the fleet to withdraw, and this ends without further casualties." Surrender? The general's tactical mind raced through options, calculating odds of victory, weighing honor against survival. "You're one being against the might of the Separatist alliance. Count Dooku will send reinforcements. You cannot be everywhere at once." "No," Jin-Woo agreed, "but my shadows can be." From every corner of the command center, from every patch of darkness, his soldiers emerged. Not the full army, just his elite named shadows. Igris, Beru, Tank, Iron, and 24 others. Each one a legend, each one impossible. Each one staring at Loathsome with the patient stillness of death itself. The general's auxiliary eyes darted between the shadows, his tactical processes recognizing a battle he couldn't win. "If I surrender, what guarantee do I have that you won't simply execute me?" "None," Jin-Woo replied honestly. "But I'm not interested in executing prisoners. I came to this planet to stop a battle, not commit war crimes. Surrender, and you'll be turned over to Republic custody under standard rules of warfare. Resist, and my shadows will tear through this facility until there's nothing left." Loathsome was many things. A military strategist, a loyal Separatist commander, a veteran of countless campaigns. But he was also a realist who understood when the battle was truly lost. This Shadow Monarch wasn't Jedi or Sith, wasn't downed by their codes or philosophies. He was something far more dangerous.
a pragmatist with overwhelming power and zero interest in political games. The general reached for his communicator slowly, keeping all four eyes on the shadows surrounding him. "All Separatist forces, this is General Loathsome. Cease all combat operations immediately. Stand down and await prisoner processing. This battle is over." Jin-Woo felt the shift across the battlefield as thousands of droids received the shutdown command and complied. His corrupted satellites stopped firing. His shadow soldiers remained manifested, but still, awaiting his command. In the space of 20 minutes, he'd ended a battle that should have lasted days and cost thousands of lives. His calm crackled. Anakin's voice carried a mix of awe and disbelief. Did you just win the Battle of Christophsis by yourself? Because our sensors are showing mass droid shutdown across all sectors, and we're detecting a general surrender broadcast from Separatist command frequencies." "Battle's over," Jin-Woo confirmed. "Loathsome surrendered. You can send your troops in for prisoner processing." "Unbelievable," Obi-Wan's voice added. "Jin-Woo, what you've accomplished here. The Council needs to see this. The entire Republic needs to understand what you represent." What he represented. Jin-Woo understood the implication. A strategic asset so valuable that both sides of this war would kill to possess or eliminate him. The Jedi would want to bind him to their cause. The Sith would want to corrupt or destroy him. The Republic would want to weaponize him. The Separatists would develop ever more sophisticated countermeasures.
He'd become exactly what he'd spent years avoiding, a political pawn in someone else's game. Before Jin-Woo could respond, a new presence made itself known. The temperature in the command center dropped 20 degrees. Frost crept across displays and crystalline walls. Every shadow in the room seemed to deepen, pressing inward with malevolent intent. Count Dooku materialized via hologram, but this wasn't a normal transmission. The image was too solid, too present. Jin-Woo's system identified it immediately. Force projection, an advanced technique that allowed powerful Force users to manifest across vast distances with near-physical presence. "Impressive," Dooku said, his voice carrying genuine admiration layered with dark promise. "You've accomplished in minutes what Jedi generals required months to achieve. You've proven beyond doubt that your power rivals the greatest Force wielders in galactic history. But you've made a critical error." "And what's that?" Jin-Woo asked, his shadows tensing around him. "You've shown both sides of this war exactly how dangerous you are. The Jedi will fear you now, no matter how much they claim gratitude. Master Windu already suspects you're a threat. This victory will confirm his worst fears. The Council will debate whether someone with your power can be allowed to exist without their control." Dooku's smile was cold calculation. "But I can offer you something they never will." "I already refused your offer." "That was before you understood the true nature of this war," Dooku countered. "This conflict isn't about politics or ideology. It's about power. Who wields it, who controls it, and who will reshape the galaxy according to their vision. You possess power that transcends the Force itself. Join me, and I can teach you how to use it properly. Refuse, and you'll find yourself hunted by both Jedi and Sith until one of us succeeds in ending your threat permanently." Jin-Woo studied the Sith Lord's projection, sensing the layers of manipulation and genuine belief intertwined in his offer. Dooku truly believed that might made right, that superior power justified any action. It was a philosophy Jin-Woo had encountered before, in the monarchs, in the architect, in every being that had accumulated enough strength to believe themselves above consequences. They were always wrong. Power without purpose was just destruction wearing a crown. "You're right about one thing," Jin-Woo said. "The Jedi will fear what I've done here. But fear and control aren't the same thing. I'm not joining your side, Dooku, and I'm not joining theirs either. I'm going to find home, and until then, I'll do what I've always done. Protect those who can't protect themselves, and kill anyone who tries to use me as a weapon." Dooku's expression hardened. "Then you've chosen to become an enemy of both orders. How long do you think you can survive when Jedi and Sith unite against a common threat? Your power is considerable, but you're alone in a galaxy that will turn against you. I'm offering you one final chance. Stand with the strong or be crushed beneath their combined might. I've fought entire dimensions alone. I've killed beings that your force couldn't comprehend. If your Jedi and Sith want war with the Shadow Monarch, they're welcome to try. They'll learn the same lesson every enemy before them learned. And what lesson is that?"
Jin-Woo's eyes glowed purple, his power radiating outward in waves that made even Dooku's projection waver. That some powers can't be killed, they can only be survived. The Sith Lord's image flickered and dissolved, but his final words hung in the air like a curse. "We shall see, young monarch. We shall see." Silence filled the command center. General Loathsome stood frozen, having witnessed an exchange between beings whose power dwarfed his understanding. Jin-Woo's shadows remained manifested, patient sentinels awaiting their master's command. Through the command center's viewports, Jin-Woo could see Republic forces moving in, LAAT gunships descending to secure the facility. Jedi and clone troopers would arrive within minutes, their faces carrying gratitude mixed with the fear Dooku had predicted. He'd saved countless lives today, but he'd also revealed exactly how dangerous he could be when motivated. The council would convene. They'd debate his status. Some would argue for trust, others for containment, and a few would whisper about elimination. Master Yoda would probably advocate patience, but even the ancient Jedi's influence had limits when the Council felt threatened. Jin-Woo had fought this battle before, in his own world. The Korean Hunters Association had tried to control him. The International Guild Conference had attempted to recruit him. Monarchs had sought to corrupt or destroy him. None had succeeded because Jin-Woo refused to play by their rules. This galaxy would be no different. His system pulsed with a new notification. Force adaptation complete, 100%. Shadow extraction, fully compatible with Force-sensitive beings. New abilities unlocked. Warning, full capabilities may destabilize galactic force balance. Jin-Woo smiled grimly. His power had finally synchronized with this galaxy's fundamental energy. He could now extract shadows from Jedi, from Sith, from any Force-sensitive being. His army could include lightsaber-wielding warriors, Force-using mages, beings who transcended normal mortality even before becoming shadows. That capability would either terrify the galaxy or save it, possibly both.
Anakin's gunship touched down outside, the young Jedi leaping out with his characteristic enthusiasm. But as he approached the command center, his expression shifted, excitement fading to something more complex as he felt the residual energy from Dooku's projection and Jin-Woo's response. "The Council wants to speak with you. Right now, via emergency holographic session." Master Windu sounded concerned. "Concerned," Jin-Woo repeated. "That's one word for it." He dismissed his shadows with a thought. The elite soldiers dissolving back into darkness, loathsome visibly relaxed as the impossible warriors vanished, though he remained under guard by Jin-Woo's presence alone. "Tell the Council I'll speak with them, but not to justify my actions. If they want to thank me for ending this battle with minimal casualties, fine. If they want to debate whether I'm too dangerous to exist, they can do that too. Either way, I'm not changing who I am or what I do to make them comfortable." Anakin actually smiled at that. "You know, you remind me of myself. Everyone always trying to tell us how to use our power, what rules to follow, what sacrifices to make. Sometimes I wonder if the Jedi way is really the only right path." "Anakin!" Obi-Wan's voice came sharp through the calm. "Do not let him influence you. Jin-Woo the Council awaits." Jin-Woo walked towards the gunship, leaving loathsome to be processed by Republic forces. As he moved through the conquered command center, past clone troopers who watched him with a mixture of awe and fear, past Jedi who couldn't quite meet his eyes, he felt the weight of this galaxy's attention settling on his shoulders. Dooku was right about one thing. He'd made himself the most talked about being in the galaxy within a single day. Both sides would now focus on either recruiting or eliminating the Shadow Monarch. Let them try. He had survived the Monarch's War. A galaxy conflict was just a different battlefield. And when he finally found his way home, this galaxy would remember that for one brief moment, something had existed here that transcended their force, their politics, and their endless war. Something that answered to no one but its own will.
The Jedi Temple's council chamber felt different this time. 3 days had passed since Christophsis, 3 days in which Jin-Woo's actions had reverberated across the galaxy like shockwaves through the Force. HoloNet news broadcasts replayed footage of shadow soldiers tearing through droid armies. Military analysts debated the strategic implications of one being ending a battle that should have consumed weeks of resources. Senators whispered in private chambers about whether the Republic should attempt to recruit the Shadow Monarch or eliminate him before the Separatists succeeded in turning him. Jin-Woo stood in the chamber's center, flanked by empty space where traditionally Jedi Knights would guard a potentially hostile visitor. The Council had decided that conventional security meant nothing against someone who could shadow step through walls and command an army of dimensional warriors. Either they trusted him or they didn't. Guards were theater. All 12 council seats were occupied this time. Master Yoda sat with his eyes closed, feeling the currents of the Force as they swirled around this unprecedented situation. Mace Windu leaned forward, his dark features carrying the weight of impossible decisions. Obi-Wan and Anakin stood to one side as witnesses, the former troubled and the latter openly fascinated. 3 standard days, Windu began, his voice carrying the measured tones of a man choosing each word carefully.
In that time, you've repelled a Separatist assault on our temple, ended the Battle of Christophsis with 0 Republic casualties, captured a Separatist general, and refused recruitment offers from Count Dooku himself. You've also demonstrated abilities that exist entirely outside the Force, power that makes you simultaneously the most valuable asset and the most dangerous variable in this war. Jin-Woo said nothing, waiting for the actual question beneath the summary. The council is divided, Ki-Adi-Mundi continued, his elongated cranium tilted thoughtfully. Some believe you represent a gift from the Force itself, a champion who can turn the tide of this war without risking Jedi lives. Others fear power operating outside our understanding threatens the very balance we've sworn to protect. We need to understand your intentions. My intentions haven't changed. Find a way home. Until then, I'm not interested in being anyone's weapon or anyone's enemy. A noble sentiment, Plo Koon said, his vocoder lending weight to his words. But neutrality becomes difficult when both sides of a galactic conflict view you as a strategic asset. The Separatists are already developing countermeasures against your power. Our intelligence suggests Dooku has commissioned research into dimensional technology based on analyzing your arrival. How long before they create weapons specifically designed to kill you? Let them try.
The casual confidence in those 3 words made several council members shift uncomfortably. They'd grown accustomed to Jedi humility, to warriors who acknowledged the limits of their power and relied on the Force to guide them. Jin-Woo's certainty felt almost like arrogance to their philosophically trained perceptions. But it wasn't arrogance. It was experience. Jin-Woo had faced the architect's reality manipulation, thought beings that existed before time itself, and emerged victorious through sheer determination and perfectly applied power. Separatist scientists developing countermeasures were children playing with toys compared to the threats he'd already overcome. Shak-Ti spoke next, her Togruta mantrals sensing the emotional undercurrents in the chamber. The Force shows us possible futures, probabilities, and potentials shaped by the choices we make in the present. Since your arrival, those futures have become clouded, as if your very existence creates blind spots in the Force's vision. We cannot see where your path leads, and that uncertainty troubles us. Because you're used to control, Jin-Woo observed. You've spent millennia as the galaxy's spiritual authorities, mediating conflicts, guiding governments, maintaining balance. Then I show up with power that doesn't bow to your Force, doesn't fit your light and dark philosophy, and suddenly you can't predict the outcome. That's not a problem with me. That's a problem with your need to control everything. Mace Windu's hand moved to his lightsaber hilt, not a threat, but an unconscious gesture of frustration. You speak as if the Jedi Order's guardianship of peace is somehow oppressive. We've protected this galaxy for 25,000 years. Our wisdom has prevented countless wars, saved trillions of lives. And how's that working out right now? Jin-Woo gestured to the viewport overlooking Coruscant's wartime bustle.
This Clone Wars has been going on for almost 2 years. Millions dead, entire star systems reduced to battlefields. And from what I've observed, both sides are being manipulated by Sith who've infiltrated your government. Your wisdom didn't prevent this war. It made you blind to the threat until it was too late.
Every Jedi in the chamber immediately extended their senses through the Force. Yoda's eyes narrowed. Mace Windu rose from his seat, his hand moving to his lightsaber. "I feel it," Windu confirmed. "A wound in the Force, similar to your arrival, but wrong, corrupted. Something's trying to tear through from another dimension. Or someone's trying to open a gate," Jin-Woo said grimly. "If the Separatists have been studying dimensional technology based on my arrival, they might have succeeded in creating an artificial rift, depending on what's on the other side." He didn't need to finish the sentence. The Jedi understood immediately. If Dooku had found a way to open portals to other dimensions, he could potentially bring through entities or weapons that would make the Clone Wars look like a minor dispute. Jin-Woo had fought beings from other dimensions. He knew what nightmares could exist beyond the veil of reality. "We must investigate immediately," Plo Koon announced, already moving toward the exit. "No," Jin-Woo said, his voice carrying absolute authority. "If this is dimensional technology, your Force won't protect you. Send your Jedi against something from another reality, and you'll just get them killed. This is my expertise." "You're suggesting we stand aside while you handle this alone?" Mace Windu's tone suggested exactly how well that would be received. "I'm suggesting I go first, assess the threat, and you follow with appropriate backup once I understand what we're dealing with. I fought dimensional entities before. You haven't." Anakin moved to Jin-Woo's side. "Then I'm coming with you. You might know dimensional threats, but you don't know Coruscant's lower levels. The Undercity is a maze of forgotten sectors and criminal territories. You'll need a guide. And we need to see how you handle a genuine crisis," Obi-Wan added, joining his former apprentice. "Consider this the Council's final evaluation. Face this threat with Jedi beside you, and we'll know whether you're truly someone we can trust." Jin-Woo wanted to argue, but recognized the political necessity. The Council was offering him a test, prove he could work with the Jedi, rather than operating as a lone variable they couldn't control. Pass, and they'd accept him as an ally, rather than a threat to be managed. "Fine," Jin-Woo agreed. "But when we get there, you follow my lead on dimensional tactics. Your lightsabers and force powers might not work against what comes through that rift." "Agreed," Yoda said, his voice carrying finality. "Go, you three will, but careful be. The Force shows me darkness gathering, a convergence of shadows, both literal and metaphorical. This anomaly, more than simple technology it may be, a trap perhaps, or a test." "A test of what?" Anakin asked. Yoda's gaze fixed on Jin-Woo. "Of whether the Shadow Monarch truly fights for others, or simply for himself." The descent into Coruscant's lower levels was like traveling through layers of civilization's failure. The gleaming upper city gave way to mid-levels where legitimate businesses mixed with questionable enterprises. Deeper still, the architecture became ancient and corroded. Massive support columns holding up kilometers of city above, while perpetual twilight reigned in streets that hadn't seen natural sunlight in centuries. Jin-Woo, Anakin, and Obi-Wan moved through territories controlled by criminal syndicates, past crowds of beings whose species Jin-Woo didn't recognize, through markets selling everything from legitimate goods to clearly stolen military hardware. The Jedi presence cleared a path.
Even hardened criminals recognized the robes and lightsabers, giving the trio wide berth. Jin-Woo's system guided them deeper, tracking the dimensional anomaly like a bloodhound following a scent. The energy signature grew stronger with each level, and with it came a sensation Jin-Woo hadn't felt since leaving his world, the distinctive resonance of mana, the fundamental energy of his home dimension. "We're close," Jin-Woo announced, as they entered a forgotten industrial sector. Massive machinery sat abandoned, covered in decades of rust and graffiti. The few inhabitants here were too desperate or too dangerous to live in more habitable areas. The dimensional rift hung in the air like a wound in reality itself, a tear approximately 3 meters tall, its edges crackling with purple-black energy. Through it, Jin-Woo could see nothing but darkness and the occasional flash of something moving. And standing before it, surrounded by sophisticated sensory equipment and energy generators, was a figure Jin-Woo recognized instantly from intelligence briefings.
Asajj Ventress, Sith apprentice to Count Dooku, a Dathomirian warrior whose twinned red lightsabers had killed dozens of Jedi. Her pale skin and ritual tattoos marked her as a dark side devotee, her yellow eyes gleaming with malevolent satisfaction as she turned to face the newcomers. "The Shadow Monarch arrives," Ventress purred, her voice carrying dark amusement. "Count Dooku predicted you'd sense our little experiment. He wanted to see if you'd come alone or bring your Jedi pets." "This is Dooku's doing?" Obi-Wan's hand moved to his lightsaber. "He's attempting to weaponize dimensional technology?" "Not weaponize, recruit," Ventress gestured to the rift. "You're not the only being from other dimensions, Shadow Monarch. The Force connects all realities, bridges all existences. We simply followed your energy signature backward, traced the path you took to this galaxy, and in doing so, we found friends." The rift pulsed. Something emerged. Jin-Woo felt his blood run cold as he recognized the creature stepping through, a high-orc chieftain, its massive form clad in crude armor, its eyes glowing with the distinctive red of dungeon monsters. Behind it came more, dozens of orcs, goblins, and lesser monsters that shouldn't exist in this galaxy. His system screamed warnings. "Critical alert! Dimensional monsters detected. Source, unknown gate dimension. Threat level, A-rank equivalent. Warning, monsters lack natural predators in this galaxy. Potential ecological catastrophe if unchecked." You opened a gate. You tore a hole between dimensions and let monsters through. Do you have any idea what you've done? Given Count Dooku an army that doesn't require factories or programming. These creatures are perfect soldiers, aggressive, expendable, and utterly loyal to whoever controls them. And unlike your shadows, they're alive. They can breed, adapt, spread across the galaxy. They can also consume entire ecosystems, destroy civilizations, turn populated worlds into monster-infested hellscapes. In my dimension, we spend billions controlling gates specifically to prevent what you've just unleashed. Then perhaps your dimension was weak. Here, we'll harness their power.
"You threaten to extract her soul," Anakin pointed out, though his tone carried more fascination than condemnation. "Turn a living person into your servant. That's the ultimate violation." "I didn't do it.
I threatened it to stop her from fleeing and potentially opening more gates elsewhere. The threat was enough. She's alive, conscious, and will stand trial for attempting to unleash dimensional monsters on a populated world. He turned to Ventress. Tell Dooku that his experiments in dimensional technology are over. If I detect another gate opening, I won't bother with threats. I'll extract every Separatist involved and make them close it themselves as shadows. Ventress nodded mutely, thoroughly broken. Republic security forces arrived minutes later, guided by Anakin's call for backup. They took Ventress into custody, their expressions confused as they tried to understand what had happened in this forgotten industrial sector. The Jedi offered no explanations, simply ordering the area sealed and classified at the highest levels. As they returned to the surface, traveling back through Coruscant's vertical city layers, Obi-Wan spoke quietly. The Council will have to make a decision now. What you demonstrated today, the scope of your power, your willingness to use extreme threats, your ability to turn literally anything into your army. Jin-Woo, you've become the single most powerful being in the known galaxy. That makes you either the Republic's greatest asset or its greatest threat. Does it have to be one or the other? Jin-Woo asked. Can't I just be someone passing through, helping where I can until I find my way home? After what we witnessed, Obi-Wan shook his head. No, you're too powerful to be neutral now. Both sides will pursue you, the Republic to recruit you, the Separatists to eliminate you. And eventually, you'll be forced to choose. Then I choose neither, Jin-Woo said firmly. I've never served governments or ideologies. I serve my own conscience. If that makes me a threat in your eyes, so be it. They emerged into the temple hangar as sunset painted Coruscant's sky in shades of amber and crimson. Master Yoda waited for them, his ancient eyes studying Jin-Woo with an expression that might have been sadness. Saw your battle, I did, through the Force. Magnificent and terrible your power is. Save us it could, destroy us it might. The question remains, which will you do? Jin-Woo met the ancient Jedi's gaze without flinching. I'll do what I've always done. Protect those who need protecting, fight those who threaten innocence, and refuse to be anyone's weapon, regardless of how noble their cause claims to be. Even if that refusal costs lives, Yoda pressed. Even if, by not choosing, you allow evil to triumph? I fought and won a war against beings that wanted to annihilate my entire dimension. I've made impossible choices, paid prices that would break most people. Don't lecture me about cost or sacrifice. I know them intimately. Yoda nodded slowly. Know them you do, but know this galaxy's cost you do not. Here, neutrality is luxury few can afford. War forces choice, whether we wish it or not. Then I'll make my choices when the time comes, on my terms, not yours, not Dooku's, not anyone's, but mine. He walked past the ancient Jedi Master, heading toward the temple's guest quarters they'd assigned him. Behind him, he could feel the weight of the entire Jedi Council's attention, their collective consciousness in the Force debating his fate. Let them debate, let them fear, let them scheme. Sung Jin-Woo had survived gods and monsters, had become the Shadow Monarch through strength and will that transcended normal limits. This galaxy's politics, its wars, its Force wielders, they were just another challenge to overcome. And when he finally found his way home, when he stepped back through a gate into his own dimension, this galaxy would remember the being who'd existed outside their rules and refused to be bound by their limitations.
The Shadow Monarch, neither Jedi nor Sith, neither Republic nor Separatist, just a hunter who protected those who couldn't protect themselves and showed mercy to those who deserved it, until they proved they didn't.
The legends would grow in the months that followed. Stories spread through Republic channels about the Shadow Monarch who'd ended the Battle of Christophsis in 20 minutes. Separatist intelligence networks whispered about the being who could turn entire armies against themselves. The Jedi Council, after days of heated debate, officially classified Sung Jin-Woo as allied independent, neither Jedi nor threat, but a force that operated according to its own moral code. Master Yoda's wisdom had prevailed. The ancient Jedi recognized that some beings existed beyond the Order's authority, that trying to control the uncontrollable would drive potential allies into enemy hands. Better to respect Jin-Woo's independence and hope his conscience aligned with the greater good. But not everyone accepted this decision. Mace Windu remained vigilant, watching for signs that the Shadow Monarch's power would corrupt him. Count Dooku abandoned recruitment efforts in favor of elimination protocols, commissioning weapons and strategies designed specifically to kill dimensional entities. And in the shadows of the Senate, Chancellor Palpatine observed this unprecedented variable with calculating patience. Jin-Woo continued his search for a way home, studying this galaxy's technology and Force mysticism for clues about dimensional travel. He helped where catastrophes occurred, stopping a plague of monsters that escaped from a Separatist laboratory, defending refugee convoys from pirates, even training clone troopers in anti-monster tactics for the inevitable day when another fool tried opening gates. He never joined either side, never pledged allegiance to Republic or Jedi philosophy. He remained the Shadow Monarch, a being who existed between the light and dark, wielding power that transcended the Force itself. Some called him hero, others called him threat. Jin-Woo didn't care about labels. He'd learned long ago that titles meant nothing compared to actions, and his actions spoke clearly. Protect the innocent, destroy those who preyed on the weak, and never bow to anyone's authority but his own conscience. In a galaxy torn by war, divided by philosophy, controlled by hidden Sith manipulators, Sung Jin-Woo had carved out something unprecedented. True freedom, true power, true independence. And when he finally found his way home, when the system completed its analysis of dimensional travel and opened a gate back to his world, this galaxy would be left with a question that neither Jedi nor Sith could answer. What happens when someone with unlimited power chooses not to rule, but simply to help? The answer would echo through the Force long after the Shadow Monarch departed, a reminder that some beings existed outside the eternal conflict between light and dark. Some beings simply walked their own path.